but works.
That's
The
good.
Gemara says, Amarava, Amarava, Seichel Adam Eshkol, a person could squeeze a branch of Shalanavim, a Eshkol of a branch of a cluster of grapes, Vaymer of Kiddush Hayom, and he could say, make Kiddush on it in the day. Of course, you have to first squeeze the grapes before Shabbos, and then you're able to make Kiddush on it on Shabbos, because on Shabbos it's a malacha to squeeze grapes. It's prohibited. So therefore you have to do it before. Now the Shulchan Aruch says, yayin migite, wine from the press, mekanchinalov, you can make Kiddush on it. The Sechet on Eshkol, and the same thing as the Gemara, person could squeeze Eshkol Shalanavim, a cluster of grapes, Vayimalav Kiddush Hayom, and make Kiddush on it. And Magen Avram says, basically, Yain Megite, he says on the Shulchan Aruch, nevertheless, mitzvah b'yayin, the mitzvah is by wine. Basically, the mitzvah minamufka is to make it on by b'yayin yashim, with old wine, meaning already fermented and already made into wine. Basically, not grape juice, alcoholic. Yeah. Mitzvah minamufka is basically the best way to do it, the way you should do it.
You have to mute everybody in the background.
You have to mute.
It says
There
mute
we go.
all. Should be a button mute all. Okay.
Okay, I think everybody's muted. Give me a second. Is this a mute or one? I know, but I'm on share screen.
No, you got it. You muted all.
Okay, we're good. Okay, fine. Now I just put a little wrote up a little thing. So Rabbi Horowitz was actually the student of the Chofetz Chaim, I'm pretty sure. And also in the beginning, Rav Henkin, he believed that grape juice is different. The grape juice we use nowadays is different from the grape juice mentioned in the Gemara. Why? Because back in the day, in times of the Gemara, the grape juice was able to ferment, naturally ferment into wine or spoil, and therefore you're allowed to make Kiddush on it, like we see many times in Shas, in Talmud, that we look at something on what it's going to come up. We look at something on what it's able to be. Nowadays, grape juice is pasteurized and it cannot turn into wine itself. Although we'll see later there's a way to do it, but for now, you can't do it. Therefore, the understanding is, according to Rav Horowitz and in the beginning of Henkin, that you cannot make Kiddush on today's grape juice unless it's freshly squeezed and not pasteurized, like it was back in the day in the times of the Gemara. Okay. Now later on, Rav Henkin switched his opinion because he spoke with Mr. Herzog, which now the big Kedem winery is owned by the Herzog family. So he spoke to Mr. Herzog, who said that you could easily ferment nowadays grape juice by just adding sugar and yeast, thus disproving the whole thingy that it cannot turn into wine, because we see it's a very easy way. You just add sugar and yeast and it's going to turn into wine. Therefore, you're allowed to use it for Kiddush. Fine. Now, most people follow this that you're able to use grape juice for Kiddush, on the regular Shabbos, like Moshe Feinstein, Rabbi Yalshov, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Halachic, a lot of whole others. Also, one more thing, Tzvi Pesach Frank, he writes in a letter, and he argues to I don't know if it's specifically Rav Hurwitz, but he writes that it's like grape juice nowadays is like yain mevushal, cooked wine. Now, most of the opinions say that you're able to use cooked wine for Kiddush, even though it's not fit for the nisachim, for the libations on the mizbeach, on the altar. So he says it's similar to it's basically the same thing. Grape juice is also cooked. That's how you pasteurize it, I believe. I think that's what he's saying over here. So therefore, grape juice nowadays will be the same, and you're able to use it for Kiddush. And he says it's actually even more than whatever. Okay, fine. Now, the Rebbe in the Lubavitcher Rebbe, there was a story where first beforehand when he had a heart attack in Tavshin Lamed Ches in 1978. He actually wanted to go down. He needed to make Kiddush, so he went down to the sukkah, to his own sukkahs, and instead of using grape juice, which all the doctors and everybody was saying that he should use grape juice, he did not use grape juice. Instead, he used wine, which either we could say that means fine. Either we could say that means he helped like the Magen Avram, which says mitzvah and amufcher, which I think most people agree that you should do it on wine, or you could say even he holds like Rav Horowitz, who says that it's not allowed. Mitzvah and amufcher is the best way, the best way of doing the mitzvah. Okay, then we have another story which one Shabbos they finished all the wine in 770 by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They finished all the wine, and the only thing that was left for Havdalah was grape juice. And again, the Rebbe did not use grape juice even for Havdalah. Even though Havdalah, you're able to use Chamar Medina, which is any respectable drink of that town. And he actually said, like, what you guys, where did you hear they're able to make Kiddush and Havdalah on wine? Like, where did you come up with this? On grape juice, sorry. Where did you come up with that you can make Kiddush and Havdalah on grape juice nowadays? Or even like the Magen Avram, you could still say holds like the Magen Avram that you have to be mach.
People trying to get on.
No, I can't. Oh shoots. You know. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. So then, so just a little recap. We said we're talking about to use grape juice for wine, for Kiddush. Some people say that, like Rav Horowitz, that it's different, that you're not able to use grape juice from wine, even though the Gemara says you're able to. We say that here is a different case because nowadays grape juice, because it's pasteurized and therefore cannot turn into grape juice, but can't turn into wine. But in the times of the Gemara, the regular, you just squeeze grapes and it could turn into wine if you ferment it. And Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank also holds Pesach Frank, along with a lot of other people, some with different reasonings, say that you're able to make Kiddush on grape juice. Rav Tzibes friend gives the reason that it's like yain mevushal, cooked wine for Kiddush. But okay, fine. And then we have, now we'll bring a story of the Rebbe of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It was Pesach, and it was Tavshin Zion, which is 1947, I believe. He was in Paris, and there was only raisin wine, and so then one of the Yaakov Lipsker squeezed grapes and used it and the Rebbe used it for grape juice. Even though by the other story, when the Rebbe had a heart attack, he was very strict to use wine. Here, in this case, he seemed to use it over raisin wine. Just to see a little bit about raisin wine, the Mishnah Berurah writes, we have right here a few. I don't know exactly how the raisin wine was, but the Mishnah Berurah writes that you're allowed to say Kiddush on raisin wine as long as the raisins still have some moisture without being soaked, meaning that they're not completely dry. The way the raisin wine is produced is made from dried grapes, right? That's what raisins are, and then the raisins are crushed. Then they add water and liquid, and the liquid ferments after 3 days. Now, the Bechar Shur points out that adding too much water to the raisins is crucial because wine diluted with more than 6 parts of wine is not considered wine. So if you add too much water, it's not going to be considered wine. Now, some people say that as long as it tastes like wine, it's acceptable. The Mishnah Berurah writes that your Shmayim, those who are God-fearing, should be careful about this and not use raisin wine that has more than six parts of water. If the raisins only release moisture when being soaked, the wine cannot be used for Kiddush, and the blessing of Agafen is not recited. Okay, fine. Now, just to point out for the Arba Kaisis, for the 4 cups of wine for the Pesach Seder, it's very different. And the Moshe Feinstein, which says on regular Shabbos you're able to use grape juice for Kiddush, along with Reb Halachic and a lot of others. Also, the Tzvi Pesach Frank, we'll go through the different opinions. The Moshe Feinstein, I believe also Reb Halachic, say that by the Arba Kaisis, you're not able to use you're not allowed to use grape juice, period. Whether nowadays or pasteurized grape juice and non-pasteurized grape juice, because it needs to Ramesha Feinstein brings a story in Yerushalmi, where in the Gemara Yerushalmi, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, which in the Jerusalem Talmud, which states that there was a story. There was one. I don't remember the names, but it was a bunch of rabbis. One rabbi, he drank the Arba Kaisis and had a headache, was sick all the way until Shavuos, from Pesach to Shavuos. Another rabbi was sick and had a headache. Was sick from the wine, specifically the wine of the 4 cups of the Seder. He was sick until Sukkot. So we have two stories, one until Shavuos, one until Sukkot. So Moshe Feinstein says, based on this, that they drank wine, not grape juice, and they were even willing to risk themselves to get sick, not only risk, but actually becoming sick until Sukkot or until Shavuos, shows that you have to use wine for the 4 cups of the Seder. Now, Now, later on, I think it was Rabbi Soloveitchik who actually he agrees with Moshe Feinstein that you have to use grape juice, but he actually I think it was him. I'm not sure. You have to use wine. Who says that he says that Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's reasoning about the story, you can't bring a proof from the story because back then they weren't able to make grape juice at that time due to the seasonings, and there was no ripe grapes. Seasons due to the seasons, there was no ripe grapes fit to squeeze and make into grape juice before they'll turn into wine, or before they spoil for the four kaises. And this was actually proved by Mr. Herzog. We brought it before. He confirmed it. He did research that back then it's not possible. It was not possible. Therefore, you can't bring a proof from the story. Although Rav Moshe Feinstein's son, in his Agada called Daidi, he brings this up. He brings up that you could only use wine for the 4 cups of the Seder. And he says that even though this story does not bring a proof, he still says his father, Moshe Feinstein, still hold that you could only use wine. Now we also see then Tzvi Pesach Frank writes that he has to have simcha. Therefore, you have to use alcohol drink because alcohol brings joy, simcha. Reb Soloveitchik actually sorry. So some people say that you could simply add a few drops of wine into the grape juice, thereby making it an alcoholic drink, and then it will make you happy. Now the Lubavitcher Rebbe writes in a letter to someone that he's able to use. Someone had a question about the, if you look right over here, about the four cups. Because he was sick, and it seems so he had to speak with it. The Rebbe said you should speak to your doctor if you should use grape juice for the 4 cups, or you could use basically you should speak, basically saying that you're able to use grape juice for the 4 cups. The Rebbe said to ask if it's better with sugar, and then for sure, of course, it means a kosher Pesach sugar, or without sugar, whatever the Rebbe goes into it. But basically, we see from there that you're able to use grape juice for the 4 cups, according to the Rebbe. We had preferably you should still follow the other opinions. B'diavad, if in the case of need, or if you're sick, chas v'shalom, or whatever, you're able to use grape juice for the 4 cups. Okay, fine. Then, okay. Now I'm gonna speak about a different next question about oh, now I just remember. One more thing. Rav Soloveitchik writes. Soloveitchik says that again. He says that if you enjoy, he agrees with Moshe Feinstein, but he says, and I think he might even say that Moshe Feinstein would agree with him, that if you if you enjoy if you don't enjoy wine but you enjoy grape juice or whatever, you don't enjoy wine, you're actually able to use grape juice for the 4 cups, and this is actually what he did. But he would actually, one interesting fact, he would the first cup of the 4 cups he would use wine, non-cooked wine. The last 3 cups he would use grape juice because he didn't like wine, didn't find it enjoyable. Therefore, it's not. The 4 cups are all about freedom and like Sri Pesach Frank says, it's about joy. So therefore, if you don't enjoy it, you can't. You should use grape juice. And he explained the reason why the first cup he used wine was due to the opinions that say that cooked wine is not good for Kiddush. I think trying to remember which opinions. I don't remember offhand, but the Rambam, yeah, just the Rambam says that you can't cooked wine is not fit for Kiddush. So therefore he would use non-cooked wine for the first cup just to be yikes that opinion. Just to fulfill according to that to the Rambam, according to that opinion. Yeah. Okay, fine.
The other cups don't need to be.
But it doesn't. A few questions I'm not going to get into right now. Fine. The next question is about hydroponic fruits and vegetables. It says, no, hydroponics is basically a way of growing fruit or vegetables out of water without soil, without the ground. And in this way, there won't be any bugs because there's worms and different bugs inside the soil. So therefore, nowadays, new technology, you're able to plant fruit or vegetables in water without any soil. Now, the question comes up, what bracha do you say on lettuce or any vegetables that is hydroponically grown? Because if you say you should make specifically hadama, not really fruits, because fruits don't have this problem, but specifically vegetables that you make the bracha hadama, because when we say baire pri hadama, which means he creates fruit of the ground, hadama, and this fruit, since this vegetable, since it's hydroponically grown, it's not from the ground, so therefore it doesn't really fit with the bracha. If you want to say a hadama, it's not really from the ground. It's not really hadama. So there's various opinions, but the Yerushalmi quotes Rabbi Yossi, who questioned whether the person should make hamaitzi on bread made from wheat grown in a non-perforated flower pot that doesn't have any holes. Therefore, in halacha, in halacha, it's not considered like it grows from the ground, like we find in many other places in the Talmud, in halacha. A flower pot needs to have holes in order to be connected to the ground. If it doesn't have holes, then it's not considered like it grown from the ground. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi had this question if he should make hamaitzi on such bread that the wheat was grown from a flower pot without a hole. Seemingly, we could say this is the same thing in our case, hydroponics, because again, it doesn't grow from the ground. It's not considered just like a flower pot without a hole. It's not considered grown from the ground. There also, but the Yerushalmi does not does not give an answer. Just go back when hamaitzi, the problem also arises with hamaitzi, like specifically hamaitzi, because hamaitzi lechem min haaretz. Haaretz, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed you, King of Hashem, the King of the universe, who takes out bread from the ground, from the earth, more precisely, and this is not taken out from the earth. It's not haaretz. Haaretz means the ground, the earth. So therefore, he had this question. Okay. And yeah, it seems very similar to hydroponics. The Yerushalmi doesn't have a good answer. Therefore, the Chaye Adam, there might be some other opinions who agree, but I'm not sure. Mainly, the Chaye Adam rules that you should make a mezainis on such bread. Seemingly, same thing with you should make with non-perforated flower pots without a hole that grow regular vegetables, that instead of making hadama, you should make a shahakol. Shakol includes everything. Shakol means that shakol niyah b'dvari, that everything was created with God's word. So that includes any item that's not grown from the ground. Other people argue with Chai Adam because, and the Chai Adam would seemingly say by hydroponics, same thing. Since it's not grown from the ground, we make a shahakal on fruits, vegetables from grown hydroponically. But many people argue against the Chai Adam, the Egli Tal, mainly because the Rambam writes and the Rosh that any food that has the Birkas Hamazin, any fruit that you need to make the after blessing with Birkas Hamazin, the bracha b'shayna, the bracha before eating it is going to be hamaitzi. And the Gemara in Brachis, Daf Mem Zayin Amud Beis 47b clearly writes that on such wheat, or such bread grown from such wheat in a flower pot without a hole, should say Birkas Hamazon after. Wait. Give me a second. Wait 1 second. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. Fine. So the Gemara in Brocho says that this food requires Birkas Hamazon after eating it. Therefore, we could apply that Hamaitzi is the bracha Rishayna, the bracha that we recite before it. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach points out then that the Gemara specifically, when the Gemara speaks about this, the Rishonim don't seem to not say anything about the Bracha Rishona, about the Gemara in Brachos, which says that they say Birkas Hamazon. So basically, Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says on the. Let me summarize. So the Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says about the on the Gemara in Brachos, which says that wheat grown from a flower pot without a hole and it's turned into bread, the after bracha will be Birkas Hamazon, the full benching. So Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach points out that none of the Rishonim, or most of the Rishonim, don't say anything about the bracha Rishona, the bracha prior to eating, what bracha it is. So this seems to say, according to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says the fact that none of the Mefarshim, none of the Rishonim commentaries say anything about the bracha Rishona, the bracha prior to eating it. You should just say the regular bracha of Hamaitzi. However, the Eglei Tal suggests, based on the Maharal, that even though Yerushalmi only questions the bracha only questions which bracha Rishona should be said on bread, that's Hamaitzi, specifically on bread, not on vegetables. Why? Because the word eretz, which we say in the bracha of Hamaitzi lechem bin haaretz, implies soil connected to the ground. However, so when we say Hamaitzi lechem haaretz, it needs to be specifically soil connected to the ground. But the bracha of Adama, which by the Pri Hadama doesn't necessarily mean soil connected to the ground. Therefore, it's not specifically limited to soil connected to the ground. So therefore, for someone who let's say eats tomatoes grown in a flower pot without holes, should definitely recite Hadama, and there's no question of whether he recites Shahaka or Adama, like by Hamaitzi, if you say Hamaitzi. So just to summarize everything, so we brought in the Yerushalmi. We have hydroponics, which we don't know which. We're trying to figure out which bracha you make. We have the Yerushalmi, which talks about wheat grown, or bread made from wheat grown from a flower pot without holes, and therefore it's not considered like it's connected to the ground. And the Yerushalmi there is not sure whether we make Hamaitzi lechem in the haaretz, which implies haaretz, and it's grown from the ground, or not. The Chai Adam says you should make a mezainis and Birkas Hamazon, which seems to not fit according to the Rambam and Rosh, because they say every time you make a Birkas Hamazon, you have to make bracha Rishona Hamaitzi. Now the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach imply from the fact that none of the Rishonim, none of the commenters say anything about the Gemara and Brachos, which says that you make a Birkas Hamazon on it. None of the commentaries say anything about the bracha Rishona. Therefore, we could assume that you make the regular bracha of Hamaitzi or Hadama if it's vegetables, not bread. Then Then we had just the Eglei Tal, which says it specifically, the Gemara in Yerushalmi specifically has a problem, has a question with bread, not with vegetables, since Hadama is not limited to soil connected to the ground. Okay, now, a lot of people hold that.
What bracha do we make on mushrooms?
So I'm about to get to that.
Oh,
Chaye
sorry.
Adam
Okay.
connects it. About to see. So a lot of people although some poskim uphold the ruling and don't agree with the Chaye Adam, who says that shahakol should be fed on vegetables grown in a flower pot, or mizanes on bread grown in a flower pot. Many poskim, like the Chazon Ish, Chaim Kanievsky, okay, and then also Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. So all follow the ruling of the Eglei Tal and the stake. Fine, that the Hadama is the correct bracha to be said. That's the general consensus. Since usually a regular fruit is a regular fruit is grown from the ground, and the regular fruit we make Hadama. Whenever you say a vegetable, a regular vegetable grows from the ground, you make Hadama. So too hydroponics. It's a regular vegetable. You still will call it a vegetable. You still, like, in general, any tomato is going to be Hadama, even though it's hydroponics. Same thing with bread. Although I did see in Sefer from I think it's Yitzchok Kaplan from Eretz Yisrael, who says that only fruits that are regular to grow in the ground do you make Hadama, but fruits, vegetables that are specifically and usually grown hydroponically, you make shahakol. Now, the Shevet Levi says you should make Hadama even on hydroponically grown fruits. Also, I heard that Retiree should also make Hadama. And he says that because since vegetables are grown from a seed that originates from the ground, however, other poskim like Rav Shlomo Auerbach quoted in fine, whatever, differentiate between vegetables that are grown in soil in a flower pot and which they say you make Hadama, and vegetables grown hydroponically where you should say shahakol. No, I was talking before. I might have made a mistake, but before when I quoted all the opinions, they were specifically saying on a flower pot, not specifically hydroponics. Here I'm talking about hydroponics with the Shevet Levi. Let me go back. So you have Reb Chaim Kanievsky and you have Chazon Ish, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. They all say that Hadama is the correct bracha to say on vegetables grown in a flower pot without all. But hydroponics, slightly different. The Shevet Levi and the Arlesian say that you should make a Hadama, just like without a flower pot, without a hole. However, the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach makes a difference between hydroponically grown vegetables and vegetables grown in a flower pot without a hole. Therefore, you should say a shahakol. Now, if a dama was recited on these vegetables, the bracha is considered acceptable, valid, and you should rely on the sivaras that suggest that the correct bracha is hadama. Now, if a person bought vegetables and doesn't know whether it was grown hydroponically or not, it was grown in soil, you should say hadama, because most vegetables sold do grow in soil. This seems to be the accepted practice. A salad that has mostly lettuce, mostly grown hydroponically, you should say shahakol. Seems to be the accepted practice. Now, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach makes a connection between, I think it was in between mushrooms, which are shahakol. Since they don't go on the ground, they're just like any regular mushroom. It's not a pri hadama. So therefore, you should make a shahakol. It doesn't go. A mushroom doesn't grow actually from the soil. It could even grow in the shower, could grow anywhere technically. It could grow on walls and bathrooms, and sometimes you can see it. And when it grows on the ground, it's not growing from the soil. Generally, it does grow on the ground, but not from the ground. So therefore, pretty much everybody says, I think everyone says, you should make a shahakol. So seemingly the same thing would be for hydroponically grown vegetables, according to the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Now, for regard to lettuce for mother at the Seder, most paiskim, few paiskim write that it tastes, its taste and sharpness, hydroponically grown lettuce is good for the obligation of for the Seder, and one would not make a bracha of shahakol on such murder on the mother or whatever the lettuce, since hadama was already said by karpas, and it covers it b'diavad. So therefore, and according to some opinions, even the chatchila, therefore you don't make another bracha, since by karpas, be it either a potato or an onion or parsley, which you make hadama, therefore you don't make another bracha here, because according to some b'diavad, some even chatchila, it covers. B'diavad means like after the fact. If you already did it, it's fine. You don't need to go back. So some opinions say b'diavad, after the fact, it's fine. You don't need to go back. If you made a bracha hadama on hydroponics, some people even say l'tatchila in the beginning you should actually make a hadama on hydroponics. Therefore, we do not make a second bracha by regard to lettuce for murder at the Seder. Now, ideally, you should use a regular murder for the Seder, normally grown but if you can get a bug free, and therefore it can be other problems, much worse problems of eating eating scots of ants, not shotzim, sorry, insects, eating insects. Therefore, you should get hydroponically grown lettuce because it is not it's bug free. Yeah. Wait, let me just take it off. Wait a second.
Okay, well, very nice. Thank you, Shmuli, for giving such a nice class. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask. Can everyone hear me?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Goya, wow. Any questions? Any thoughts? Mordechai? Oh, good. Okay.
I can't wait to get my hands on mushroom.
All right. Well, I think that was very nice. Thank you, Shmuli, for sharing with us your words of wisdom, all the research you did on these inyanim, these areas of question. And what's interesting to me is it comes out, according to what you're saying, that if a person, for whatever reason, did not have karpas at the at his seder, and so they did not recite original bracha for the karpas, so when it comes to the maror, they need to recite a bracha, and they're using hydroponics, they would actually recite shahakal. If that's the accepted view, that's what it sounds like from what you're saying, that you would say, I don't know how common it is. Of course, most people have karpas and they set a bracha karpas on the, on the karpas, but if for whatever reason someone didn't, or somehow they said a bracha, right? Maybe they said an after bracha. That could happen. Someone could eat so much and then they say a bracha achreina on karpas. They forgot to, or that might be the halacha. Actually, I'm not sure what the halacha is if you eat more than a kazayas. You're probably not supposed to say after bracha, I'm not sure. I don't remember what the Haggadah says. But if a person did say a bracha achreina, if he said an after bracha, then you need to recite a bracha on the maror. So yeah, that would be interesting. You'd say a shahakal. Yes, Avram.
Yeah. The issue of plant-based foods, like you get burgers and sausages and things like this. I think there's a big debate about making pork is one of them. It's not really pork, it tastes like pork. I think the argument against it is that people may like the taste of that and to turn to the real pork. Do you have any insights on that, or where we are?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Of course, it's a big topic because to be able to have, they're using like something originally from what? There seems to be a lot of talk about this because it's becoming popular. They're coming out with new ways of creating meat that's totally cholesterol free and trans fat free and
From soy.
but no, that's an old thing from soy. Now they have ways of manipulating things and growing things. Somehow, I don't think it's from soy. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
I think soy was the old. That was the old way of making.
The old way, yeah.
Now there's new ways of manipulating different things, growing things from some type of a molecule or of I don't know some whatever. I don't know exactly. So yeah, definitely an interesting thing. My son says that there's that the OU gives a hechsher even on this some of the new stuff. So I guess we'll have to see what they come up with. But
they've had for a few years now, and it's very good. It's called beef fry. It's under hashkacha, and it tastes just like bacon. Well, it smells just like bacon.
They've had fake bacon for years, but the thing is now they're coming up with even like meat that might not be fleischics. You know, it's like meat. It might not be considered like meat. And it's, besides the,
Don't say
another-
meat. It's not meat. It's
well,
they give
yeah.
you something that looks and tastes like meat.
Feels
It may
and-
not be fleischics, right?
Right. It may not be fleischics. But
But
yeah,
Rabbi,
take
it's
it,
called
meat.
plant-based
Uh-huh.
foods.
yeah, but you have to understand, there used to be, it was very common to make things out of soy.
No,
they still do.
I was wrong. It was not the old soy. They make things now out of plants with flavorings that it can taste like anything.
But
pork-
I think there's a new thing going on that they're manipulating stuff not just plants. Yes, Yehuda.
Yeah, they have for years imitation lobster and shrimp. It's made from kosher fish, but it looks like
Right.
I use it all the time.
Right.
So the question
has,
really, I believe, is whether the pork one would get extra on it or not. And that's a big question,
right.
as far as I
Right.
understand.
Yeah, I think I once saw an article about it by the OU. I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, I think they've written about it. It's interesting because Shulchan Aruch talks about issues that, for example, in Shulchan Aruch, it talks about having milk made from almonds that at a fleischic meal, that you need to have the bottle that it says you need to have almonds next to it, so people know that the milk that you have is made from the almonds. Otherwise, it's marasayin, that people are going to think that you're having milk and meat. It talks about in the beginning of the laws of Basar v'Chalav and Shulchan Aruch and Yeridea. It talks about it mentions this, which is along what Avram is talking about, that there could be an issue of marasayin, except for the fact that nowadays it's become so popular that there might be some leniency. In other words, like oat milk, people and almond milk and coconut milk. These milks have become almost more. They're so popular. If you look in the stores, they have more shelves with the fake milks than the real milks. Almost. I mean, it's and therefore there might be room to say that now you can't just assume that it's regular milk, and there might not be any marasayin. So I'm not sure how that works with the fake fish and with this fake meat.
There was a huge scandal that took place. I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was called Moishi's fake shrimp, and it tastes just like shrimp. And they finally found out that it had shrimp in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was this, in the Lower East Side or?
In New York, it was available in Crown Heights.
Right. Wow. Yes, Yehuda.
In the early 60s, when the non-dairy creamers first came out, I forget which brand came first, but they posed the question to Rav Moshe Feinstein. And he said that you couldn't put it in a you had to show it in the original container.
Right.
Showed it in the original container, it was okay.
Interesting. So at a fleischic meal, if you want to have coffee with milk, you got to bring the bottle there, and don't put it into a creamer cup or something.
Right.
Creamer. You make sure you have it original bottle.
I don't remember which brand came out with it first. I think it may have been Coffee Rich.
Yeah, probably.
I don't remember, but it was posed to Moshe Feinstein, and that was his ruling.
In today's day and age, the young people don't even know what Coffee Rich is. With all the almond milk and the oat milk and all the other stuff. But yeah, I remember Coffee Rich. Yep. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Shmuli, for giving such a wonderful class. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Shmuli.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rabbi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good job.